Now, let me just say, I can understand that at low level, mid level, and even high level, this character might seem like a mid tier or even possibly high tier with all the potential that he has. However, at top level, where things like neutral, pressure, a strong advantage state, and consistency is valued the most, as well as close to mastered, Steve falls into the category of bottom tier. First of all, his neutral is non-existent, and by far the worst neutral in the game. He barely has any kind of pressure whatsoever. His mobility is some of the worst in the game, having some of the slowest ground game, low air mobility, no range. And in a top competitive environment, there is almost nothing Steve can really do. Meaning Steve cannot deal with any kind of good pressure, which in return also means that he has a terrible defensive game, making mining and everything else so much harder. Truly pressuring a neutral is with landed pickaxe, forward air, and back air, but it has such low range that it'll be optimistic at best hitting shields with it. You'll only get stray hits, no combos. Here's something important to understand at top level. Even if you get dash attacked 7 times by Steve during one stock, the damage you took is so minimal that it barely matters. Not being put into a horrible disadvantage state is much more important. It is beyond underwhelming. On top of this, getting grabbed at above 30% won't be a big deal at all anymore. So, what's left? Up tilt? Too low range. Jab? Too low range. And especially if you know how to pressure shield correctly, Steve won't ever get his out of shield aerials to start anything either. So the only thing that is left is cart. Now at first, sure, the cart will be annoying since it's a new-ish mechanic that you'll have to understand how to counterplay, but once you do, you'll realize that the cart isn't that good to begin with. Let's say you've gotten pretty good at the Steve matchup now, and almost never get hit by the cart. His aerials never really get to hit you. His out of shield options aren't punishing you because you've mastered your character's movement, spacing, and pressure, and his jab, up tilt, and down tilt combo starters are even harder to hit. Then you're basically left playing against dash attack or random grabs, both punishable, easy to jump and wall out, and give low reward anyway, assuming you don't get grabbed at starting percents. Now you might be thinking, what about his up smash? It's a big and decent anti-air. But it's not. In fact, it's extremely committal, and if you know how to fast fall with neutral air dodge, which by the way is extremely rare for players below high level play to know about this option, then you'll easily get past it and hard punish Steve. The only time you'll ever hit the up smash is against predictable jumps into you. In other words, rushed or careless approaches, which will almost never happen at top level play. Think mining forces any kind of approaches from any character, then I'm sorry, but you're wrong. It doesn't, and it won't, at least at top level, because I can imagine that anything below that level, approaching, spacing, and pressuring is a bit of a rougher concept. So neutral is clearly the worst in the game. Now, you might say, but this is why he has to mine so that he becomes stronger. Well, sadly, half of the cast won't care. And even if you let it happen, Steve is going to get a somewhat better weapon, which he'll barely be hitting with anyway. So, did he really get better? The only way Steve actually wins interactions effectively is if the opponent mindlessly rushes to stop Steve from mining frantically, hitting blocks impatiently and forcing their way in. But there's no real reason to. But most characters can deal with blocks easily, not let you mine, nor craft in peace, nor can you hit them away to do any of it. Even if you manage, you're mining for essentially a minimal upgrade, if even at all. In neutral, no matter how you set up your blocks, you're essentially only stalling for the inevitable. But oh wait, you need to hit the opponent first, which barely works, so it doesn't work at top level play. Now you might be saying, but Izaw, the character is complex and needs more time to develop. And yeah, you're right, he does need time. But it's not hard to tell pretty early on if a character has a capable playstyle. No character can purely rely on gimmicks, and most of the time, the biggest development that requires time is his combo game. But if he can't win neutral, then the character is still not going to benefit much. But on top of his neutral being the worst in the game, his disadvantage state is also terrible. But his supposedly flexible disadvantage state options aren't even that flexible, nor good. Blocks and disadvantage will barely help, it'll mix things up occasionally. His cart and up B are super vulnerable, top of everything also be countered at the start of it, and even when at ledge, his ledge options are below average to make it back. Down air is decent at best in a few matchups, but most characters can beat it with their own attacks, or just dodge it and still catch him landing, so it's not a big deal unless you rush against him without needing to or being able to. So what is Steve's strength? combos, scary looking ones too when seen in training mode, but they're all super specific, and they all start at close range. The worst part is that you can SDI all of the combos, which break them pretty heavily. So to me, and many other players, this seems like he's kind of a low tier now, but there are more reasons as to why I think he might be the worst. His matchup spread seems to be the worst in the game. If they get cornered, it won't be hard to get into the middle either, as Steve will have a hard time catching them anyway. And if they know the matchup and never get hit by the cart, Steve is locked to perfect shield gaming and dash attack mostly. It's sad to say, but this character will need some big buffs to be a good character at top level. Now again, at low level, mid level, potentially high level, I understand that you think there is potential and that he might be a mid tier, but not at top level for all of these reasons. Now, it doesn't mean that Steve won't be able to win a few games here and there in tournament, or even potentially have a good run once in a while. Luckily, this is Ultimate, not Brawl or Smash 4, and a bad character isn't completely unviable, and even the worst character in this game can do decently. So, yes, from time to time you'll see some amazing plays, and amazing players doing amazing things with Steve.
But he is gonna go ahead and take it! 3-0! 3 stock!